As a founder, at some point on your journey to success, you're going to ask yourself, is my startup crushing it, or does it need a little TLC? A metric like sales growth may indicate you are on the path to success. But how do you know for sure? In today's podcast, we're going to break it all down for you by diving into 9 key metrics that founders should start tracking to know if and where they are on their path to success. Welcome to Bootstrapped the Lighter Side, the podcast for B2B startup founders wanting to achieve success without giving up ownership or control. This podcast is brought to you by Lighter Capital, the leader in founder-friendly financing for SaaS companies. Learn more at lightercapital.com. Hi everyone, I'm Melissa Widner, CEO of Lighter Capital. I'm glad you're tuning in today because we're going to cover an important topic that any founder who wants to raise capital or have a successful exit should care about. We're talking about metrics you need to be tracking and why. Okay, so let's get real for a moment. Growth is still important, but in today's environment, showing growth alone may no longer be enough. Investors and boards are expecting more, including knowing how well you are using your capital and if you can grow while also being cost efficient. So, what's it going to take to demonstrate this? In today's fundraising world, it requires a variety of metrics to track the health of your startup. Sure, things like gross margin and MRR are important, but what other metrics should you be tracking and reporting on? To help you get a handle on this, we're going to dive into 9 individual metrics that will help you better assess where you are at on your journey to success. Some you may already be familiar with or already using. Others may be completely new to you. All right, let's get started. First up, burn multiple. Yep, you heard that right, burn multiple. This is arguably the ultimate capital efficiency metric. It measures how many dollars of cash you burn to generate each new dollar of annual recurring revenue. The formula is pretty simple. Net burn divided by net new ARR. If you don't already know, net burn is your annual cash outflows minus cash inflows. Here's why it matters. In a world where capital is more expensive and rounds are smaller, investors don't always want to see growth at any cost. They want to know how efficient you are with capital, and this metric helps to reveal this. A burn multiple under 1.5 times is excellent. 1.5 to 2.5 times is average, and over 2.5 times is a red flag. It's important to track your burn multiple monthly, not just quarterly. If it's climbing, you've got to either reduce spend or accelerate revenue. Plus, as your business matures, it should trend toward improved efficiency. Okay, next up, we're going to focus on the Rule of 40. This one can be powerful in unlocking important insights about your startup's health. Plus, it's simple to calculate. Simply add your growth rate to your profit margin. If it's 40 or more, you're in the sweet spot. If you're growing 60% but losing 30%, you're still above water and probably okay. But if you're growing 30% and losing 40%, you'll have some explaining to do to any prospective investor. The bottom line is, investors love startups that can grow and stay efficient, not ones that can do just one or the other. The third metric we call the magic number, and it pertains to sales and marketing performance. This important metric reveals how much new revenue you're getting for every dollar you spend on sales and marketing. The formula is pretty straightforward. Take new ARR, multiply it by 4, then divide it by last quarter's sales and marketing spend. If you're hitting 1 or higher, you're crushing it. 0.8 to 1, you're doing okay, but there is room for improvement. If you are below 0.75, you will need to investigate more deeply as you might be overspending or chasing the wrong customers. All right, now let's shift attention by moving into customer land. Here we're going to focus on net dollar retention, or NDR. This formula is a bit more involved, but still pretty easy to calculate. You'll need your starting annual recurring revenue, expansion, which is revenue gained from upsells, cross-sells, or seat increases, churn, which is revenue lost when customers cancel entirely, and contraction, ARR, where revenue is lost when customers downgrade or reduce usage. This metrics tells you how much revenue you're keeping and expanding from your existing customers. It includes upsells, renewals, and churn. The formula is starting ARR plus expansion minus churn minus contraction, all divided by starting ARR, then times 100. Healthy SaaS companies sit at 110% or more. And if you're enterprise focused, aim for 120% plus. As you most likely know, land and expand still drives efficient growth. Product adjacencies and expansion paths that naturally add value and deepen customer spend. However, if you're adding new customers but losing existing ones, that's like filling a bucket with holes. You need to plug those leaks before you pour in more water. Okay, while our attention is on customers, meet gross revenue retention, or GRR. It's net dollar retention's more honest cousin. This one ignores upsells. It just tells you how sticky your core business really is. If you have the variables for the NDR formula, you're ready to go. Just take starting ARR minus churn minus contractions and divide the result by starting ARR. Anything above 80% is good. However, enterprise SaaS should shoot for 90 plus, and SMBs for around 80 to 85%. It's important you track GRR separate from NDR. The reason for this is if NDR looks strong, but GRR is slipping, you're probably upselling your way out of a churn or shrinking customer base problem, which will not be sustainable long-term. Another important customer metric is customer acquisition costs payback. In other words, how long does it take for you to earn back what you spent acquiring a customer? The good news is the formula is very simple. It's customer acquisition costs divided by gross margin per customer per month. If the formula shows you are under 12 months, you're golden. 12 to 18 is fine. But over 24 months? Probably better start investigating more, because you're basically giving out free trials that never pay off. If your payback is dragging, try leaning into product-led growth, where your product does the selling. This can cut your costs dramatically. Okay, so we've covered 6 metrics so far. We only have 3 more to go. The next one is a newer one. It's called the Burn Efficiency Index, or BEI. It's primarily used by SaaS investors, and it may have different interpretations. But in general, BEI measures how effectively founders convert capital into recurring revenue. Initially, BEI was an efficiency metric specifically for dilutive equity, the most expensive capital, that could convey capital discipline with venture funding. Modern usage covers all capital raised, including venture debt and debt financing. Since more SaaS companies are utilizing a mix of debt and equity, after all, cash out the door is still cash out the door, BEI measures how much ARR you've generated for every dollar of capital you've raised. The formula is pretty simple. It's ARR divided by total capital consumed, which is equity plus debt capital. High BEI equals high praise. It shows you can do a lot with a little, and that's music to any investor's ears. If you want to impress the board, track both versions. One that just uses equity capital and another that includes debt too. It tells a complete story. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about product-led growth, specifically the metrics that we can use to better measure its impact. Most SaaS startups have their own metrics that they track here. But if you aren't yet doing this, let's highlight a few that you may want to consider, like what % of ARR comes from self-serve? How well are free users converting to paid? What's your viral coefficient? Meaning, how many new users each existing user brings in. If that viral coefficient is greater than 1, congrats! Your users are your best sales team. Other ratios to also consider are expansion ARR versus revenue from new logos, expansion customer acquisition costs, which tracks how much you spend to expand revenue from existing customers. Choose the ones that you feel are most effective for your measurement needs. But if you are considering raising funds, it's best to be prepared to answer questions about any of these metrics. Okay, so we're almost done. This is the final metric, but it's also one that has a new spin on it. AI-adjusted gross margins. Yep, this one is a hybrid of adjusted gross margins. If you're adding AI features, your gross margins might start shifting because of things like GPU costs or API usage. So, split your margins. Track your traditional SaaS margins separately from your AI-related costs. Healthy AI-powered SaaS should still aim for 70 to 80% margins overall. If AI is core to your product, margin discipline is essential. Here are 3 ways founders are using gross margin to evolve their SaaS products with AI and maintain capital efficiency. Track infrastructure costs in buckets, such as those related to AI and those related to cloud hosting. Track gross margin by feature. For example, legacy workflow automation may have a gross margin of 85%, while a new AI copilot runs at 60%. This is an effective method for identifying features that are expensive to deliver and potentially underpriced. The other one to keep an eye on is customer-level margin tracking. If you can tie AI infrastructure usage to customer accounts, you can identify which customers or cohorts are profitable and adjust pricing tiers accordingly. This isn't just accounting, it's survival. The best founders know exactly how AI is impacting their bottom line. All right, before we wrap up, let's ask ourselves a simple question. What's the big picture with these metrics? The reality is the funding game has changed. Growth still matters, but efficient growth is what separates the survivors and thrivers from the rest. Make sure to keep your burn multiple low, keep your retentions high, and keep your customer acquisition costs payback short. Think of these 9 metrics as like your business's health tracker. They help you know if you're on track for that entrepreneurial marathon or if you need to step up your game. Don't stress if they're not all perfect right away. It takes time. Keep an eye on these numbers, make adjustments when needed, and remember, every successful SaaS company started exactly where you are now. And thanks for tuning in to Bootstrapped, the lighter side. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform to catch future episodes. If you found this helpful, why not share it with other founders who might benefit? And hey, if you want to learn more about founder-friendly financing options, just head over to lightercapital.com.